Okay, so like, have you ever walked into a shopping mall in another country and been like totally lost when you had to talk to the salespeople?
Oh, yeah, for sure. It can definitely feel like everyone's speaking some kind of secret code.
Right. But what if I told you there are like some really simple phrases and tricks you can use to not just survive, but actually totally rock that whole experience?
Hmm.
You might even snag some amazing deals while you're practicing your English.
You're so right. Shopping malls are like a perfect example of everyday English. It's a great place to practice your language skills in a fun and safe environment.
Okay, so let's dive into this. What are some like key phrases that'll help me feel more confident when I'm talking to a salesperson?
Well, one phrase that's super helpful pretty much everywhere is, "Excuse me, could you help me find?"
Mhm.
It's polite, it's direct. You can use it for anything from a specific brand to that weird souvenir you've been looking for.
Simple, but effective. What if I need like a different size? Sometimes fitting rooms can be a little scary, especially in a foreign language.
That's where "do you have this in a different size" comes in.
Oh, okay.
Most stores have fitting rooms, so don't be shy about trying things on. And if you need another size, just politely ask the salesperson.
This is where things get really interesting to me, the whole bargaining thing. Like, I know in some places it's totally expected to haggle over the price, but in other places it's just not done.
Yeah.
How can I tell if it's okay to bargain? And how do I even start?
That's a great question. It's true that bargaining customs can be super different all over the world. In some cultures, it's actually considered rude not to bargain. But in others, like most of the US, the prices are usually fixed.
I see.
If you're not sure, it's always a good idea to just watch what other people are doing or subtly ask the salesperson if they have any wiggle room on the price.
Okay, got it. So let's say I'm in a situation where bargaining IS, totally cool.
Mhm.
What are some magic words I can use to get a better deal?
Well, instead of just demanding a lower price, try something a bit more polite. Like you could say, "That's a bit more than I was hoping to spend. Could you do any better?"
Well, that's good.
It shows you're still interested, but also that you're ready to walk away if the price isn't right.
So confidence is key here, right? I
Fair.
can't just mumble my offer. I need to like own it.
Exactly. Body language is a big deal when you're negotiating.
Hmm,
Remember to stand tall, make eye contact, and speak clearly and confidently. You're not begging for a discount. You're having a friendly back and forth.
I like that. Okay, so I've got my phrases down. I'm feeling good. But what happens if the price is still too high, even after we go back and forth a bit?
There are a couple of ways to handle that. You could just thank the salesperson and say, "I'll think about it."
Right.
That gives you a chance to step away and maybe compare prices at some other stores. Or if you're feeling brave, you could try a more direct approach, like, "I'm really interested, but that's still a bit outside my budget. I can offer you your price."
I see.
Just remember the salesperson might come back with a counteroffer, and then it's up to you to decide if you want to accept it or move on.
It's like a little verbal dance. I never thought of it that way.
I love that a verbal dance. It totally captures the give and take of a good negotiation.
For our listeners who are thinking, okay, this is all great in theory, but how does this work in the real world? What if we make this come alive with a little example?
I'm up for that. Let's imagine you're in a busy marketplace and you see this amazing handmade bag. Let's see how this whole interaction might go.
All right, I'm ready to channel my inner bargain hunter in a friendly voice.
Eh.
Excuse me, this bag is gorgeous. How much is it?
Taking on the role of a shopkeeper. "Hello there, you have a good eye. This one is $80."
$80. It's really nice, but that's a tad more than I wanted to spend. Is that your best price?
Well, for you, I can do $75. It's made with real leather and hand stitched. Very high quality.
I appreciate that I'm really interested, but $75 is still a little out of my price range. How about $60?
$60 is a bit low. I can come down to $70, but that's my final offer.
Okay, $70 it is. You've got a deal.
Excellent choice. You won't regret it.
See,
Yeah.
that wasn't so bad. I think a lot of people get intimidated by the whole bargaining thing, but with the right words and a little confidence, it can actually be kind of fun.
I agree. And you just might save yourself some money along the way. You know what's really interesting here is how much nonverbal communication plays into making a negotiation work.
Well, tell me more about that. I've always been fascinated by body language.
Just think about it. Your facial expressions, your posture, even how you make eye contact. They all send these subtle signals that can really affect how the conversation goes.
Hmm.
In many cultures, looking someone directly in the eye means you're being honest and sincere, but avoiding eye contact can be seen as disrespectful or like you're not being truthful.
Wow. I never realized how much we communicate without even saying anything.
Exactly. And when you're in a different country, it's even more important to pay attention to those cultural differences.
Uh-huh.
What might be polite in one culture could be totally rude or aggressive in another.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
So what are some other times when we might need to use our English skills in a shopping mall? What about like asking for directions or maybe if I need to return something?
Those are great examples. If you're lost, don't be afraid to ask a store employee, "Excuse me, could you point me towards the restrooms?" Or, "Do you know where I can find name of the store?" And if you need to return something, just remember to be polite and explain why. You can say, "I'd like to return this. It doesn't fit." Or, "I'm afraid this item is damaged."
Okay.
Most stores have their return policy posted somewhere, so take a look at that before you buy something.
So it sounds like the keys here are really just preparing yourself and practicing.
Mhm.
What are some tips for our listeners who want to get better at speaking English overall?
One of the best things you can do is surround yourself with the language as much as possible.
Okay.
Listen to English music and podcasts, watch movies and TV shows with English subtitles, and try reading English books and articles. The more you hear and see the language, the more natural it will start to feel.
And don't forget about actually practicing speaking. Even if you don't have someone to talk to, you can still improve by talking to yourself in English. Record yourself, and then listen back to see where you can get better.
That's a great idea. It might feel a little weird at first, but it really works. And another thing, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes when they're learning something new. The important thing is to learn from those mistakes and keep practicing.
It's all about progress, not perfection. Now, before we wrap up, I think it would be helpful to go over some of the important vocabulary we've used today. Some of these words and phrases might be new for some of our listeners.
You got it. Let's start with bargaining.
Yeah.
This is all about negotiating the price with a shopkeeper. It's a pretty common thing in a lot of parts of the world, but remember, it's not always okay, so make sure you're reading the situation.
Exactly. And another important phrase is price range. This just means the range of prices that you're comfortable spending. So if something is out of your price range, it means it's just too expensive for you.
And if you want to check prices at a few different stores before you decide on something you can shop around, that's a good way to make sure you're getting the best possible deal.
We also talked about the word pricey, which is like an informal way of saying something is expensive.
Right.
So instead of saying, that dress is very expensive, you could say, that dress is a bit pricey, don't you think?
Exactly. Using words like pricey can help your English sound more natural and fluent. Okay, now let's test our listeners a little. Imagine you're in a souvenir shop and you found the perfect gift, but they only have it in a color you don't love. How would you ask the shopkeeper if they have it in a different color? Then be polite about it.
Oh, that's a great one. I'm curious to hear what our listeners come up with. Remember, confidence is key, and don't be afraid to use all the phrases we talked about today.
So what does this all mean for our listeners? Mastering these simple phrases and tricks can really help you navigate a shopping mall in English confidently and easily. It's not just about buying things, it's about using language to connect with people from different cultures and having a more enjoyable shopping experience.
And hey, you never know. You might even find out you're a natural bargainer.
Hmm.
Remember, learning a language is a journey, not a destination. So keep practicing, stay curious, and enjoy the adventure of exploring the world through language. Until next time, happy shopping.
Yeah.